It was the summer of the early 1970s, the golden age of American drag racing, when a young woman named Pamela Hardy burst onto the scene and changed the sport forever. Known to millions simply as Jungle Pam, she became an icon not for driving, but for her charisma, style, and undeniable presence beside drag racer Jim Liberman, the legendary Jungle Jim. Together, they became the most electrifying duo on the racing circuit. Crowds would roar when she stepped out in her trademarked halter tops, denim cutoffs, and knee-high boots. But behind the fame and flashbulbs, few realized the emotional toll it all took on her. Jungle Pam wasn't just a sidekick, she was part of a movement, one that mixed rebellion, danger, and heartbreak in equal measure. Pamela Hardy wasn't born into fame. Raised in the quiet suburbs of Pennsylvania, she was a normal teenager with dreams of art school and a simple life, until fate intervened. One afternoon in 1972, she met Jim Liberman by chance on the street. He was already one of drag racing's biggest names, known for his wild personality and fearless stunts. Liberman invited her to join his tour as his assistant, a role that would soon make her a legend. She was only 18, but she dove headfirst into the high-octane world of funny car racing. What began as a summer job soon became an adventure that would define her life and her identity. By 1973, Jungle Jim and Jungle Pam were household names on the drag strip. Together, they represented the perfect mix of danger and glamour, the rock stars of the racing world. Pam wasn't just there for show. She mixed fuel, guided Jungle Jim into the staging lanes, and performed burnout procedures with precision. Her confidence and fearless energy challenged the stereotypes of women in motorsports. Crowds loved her, men admired her, women respected her, and photographers couldn't get enough of her. She became a marketing phenomenon, appearing in racing magazines and posters across America. But while fans saw the sparkle, Pam was beginning to understand the darker, more dangerous side of the world she'd entered. Behind the public image of Jungle Jim and Pam, there was a complex, often tumultuous relationship. Pam and Jim were deeply connected, professionally and emotionally, but the pressures of fame and the constant travel took their toll. Jim's wild lifestyle, unpredictable temperament, and obsession with performance often pushed their bond to the edge. He lived fast in every way, Pam later admitted. It was all or nothing with him. Still, she stayed by his side. Through long nights on the road, dangerous races, and moments of pure chaos. She loved the thrill, but deep down she feared how fast it all was spinning out of control. Tragedy struck on September 9, 1977. Jungle Jim Liberman, at just 32 years old, was killed in a devastating car accident near West Goshen Township, Pennsylvania. Pam was heartbroken. The man who had been her mentor, partner, and the reason for her fame was suddenly gone. The racing community was shattered. Fans couldn't believe that the wild, untouchable Jungle Jim was no more. For Pam, it felt as though the world stopped turning. When Jim died, she once said quietly, "A part of me died too." The accident marked the end of an era and the beginning of a long, painful chapter of grief and rediscovery for Jungle Pam. After Jim's death, Pam disappeared from the spotlight. She stopped touring, stepped away from racing, and tried to rebuild her life away from the noise of fame. But it wasn't easy. She had spent her most formative years on the road, living life at 200 miles per hour. Without the roar of engines or the cheers of fans, she felt lost. Over time, she found solace in art, photography, and small community projects, but the world never truly let her go. Racing fans continued to send letters, photos, and memories, calling her an unforgettable part of drag racing history. Yet behind those nostalgic tributes was a woman still haunted by what she'd lost. Pam rarely spoke publicly about Jim's death in the years that followed, but those close to her said the memories never left her. She'd wake up sometimes and talk about the roar of the funny cars. She said she could still hear him. Though she eventually returned to public appearances at nostalgic drag racing events, she carried a quiet sadness. She would smile for photos, share stories with fans, but behind that smile was the weight of a lifetime spent chasing something that could never return. "It's strange," she once reflected, "being remembered for the best time of your life and the worst time." Over the years, Jungle Pam became a legend, part myth, part memory. For younger racing fans, she was almost larger than life, the fearless woman who stood beside one of the sport's greatest drivers. Her name appeared in documentaries, articles, and countless retrospectives celebrating drag racing's golden age. But for Pam herself, the myth often overshadowed the reality. "People remember the image," she said, "but not the person." Behind the photo shoots and posters was a woman who had experienced love, loss, and the fleeting nature of fame. She didn't regret her past, but she never fully escaped it either. As the decades passed, Pam chose a life of privacy. Living quietly in Pennsylvania, she avoided the spotlight except for occasional appearances at car shows or interviews celebrating drag racing history. When she did speak, she carried herself with grace, humor, and gratitude. "It was an incredible time," she told fans, "but it was also a dangerous one. We lived fast, and sometimes that means we burned out too soon." Though the years softened her image, her love for the sport and for Jim never faded. She often said that the smell of nitro fuel could still make her heart race. When news broke of Jungle Pam's passing in 2025, fans across the world mourned deeply. Though details were kept private, those close to her said she died peacefully, surrounded by loved ones and the memories of a life that burned brighter than most. Tributes poured in from across the motorsport community. Legendary racers, old colleagues, and fans of all ages shared photos, stories, and personal messages. "She was the heartbeat of an era," one driver said through tears. "The drag strip will never be the same without her spirit." Her death marked the final chapter in one of drag racing's most enduring stories. Even in her passing, Jungle Pam's legacy continues to inspire. She redefined what it meant to be a woman in motorsports, fearless, independent, and unapologetically bold.